Joining me today is UFC lightweight contender Dan Hooker. Dan, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
It seems like lightweight is the talk of the town. It kind of always is, right? But with everybody kind of playing fantasy matchmaker, throwing these like tournaments around and stuff, we've had multiple really big bookings announced recently, and I wanted to know where you're at. And I saw you tweet like earlier this month that you were ready to go. I'm assuming that means you're ready to get a fight book, right?
Yeah, so I've let the UFC know since November that I was good to go. So November, December, it's getting closer. So I anticipate getting a matchup fairly soon.
And what do you think of the matchups that were announced? I mean, Connor and Poirier was kind of like announced a while back. It was only made official recently. But Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira, I know those were two names that you were quite interested in fighting, right?
Yeah, those are two great fights. In my opinion, I feel like the Poirier McGregor fight should be for the belt. Khabib's retired. I feel like that fight should be for the title. Oliveira Ferguson, that's another great matchup. The division's moving, everyone's getting booked. For myself, that leaves Chandler or Gaethje, and I would happily take either of those two. Even on that same card as the Poirier McGregor matchup, either of those two names.
And yeah, because I know that Tony Ferguson kind of wanted to fight Michael Chandler, and Chandler was alluding to already having something in the works. I'm assuming it's not you.
Well, it can't be me then, can it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's leaving me with one option, making me think that it's Justin Gaethje. Maybe, I don't know. This is just me kind of playing matchmaker. But where does that leave you? I'm assuming, like, now looking at the rankings and stuff like that, maybe Rafael dos Anjos, is that something that would interest you?
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. Hands down, I want the Gaethje fight for. Just to me, like as a fan of the sport, just watching it from the outside, having Chandler turn down the Ferguson opportunity in December, kind of takes a lot of that gun ho mystique off him. He is coming into the UFC from another organization, saying, "I'll fight anyone. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Step in for the title." He stands on a scale and essentially makes weight, and that rules him out for a fight against Tony Ferguson. Which, you beat Tony Ferguson, you pretty much position yourself as the next guy in line for a title shot. For him to turn down that opportunity because he stepped on a scale and make weight, like how tough is it for this guy to make weight? For me, it's not a difficult thing. For me, I don't walk around like making weight. For me, is fairly straightforward and it's fairly easy. So it's that to me kind of takes a lot of the mystique off the guy. Him saying he's ready to go, he'll fight anyone. Oh wait, I don't want to fight Tony Ferguson. Yeah. So even for me, fighting Chandler, like it takes a lot of the hype that's behind Chandler away. So it makes him less appealing to fight.
Does it irk you at all, like him coming in and potentially getting that Justin Gaethje fight? I know you're coming off of a loss, but you've won 7 of your past 9. And when we're looking at a lot of those top 5 guys, they're actually essentially coming off of losses. So when we match make, whether it's you Ferguson, you Gaethje, a lot of those fights would make sense. You are ranked in the top 5. So this kind of irk you that he comes in and he could end up getting that Gaethje fight, especially with now Ferguson fighting Oliveira and McGregor fighting Poirier.
Nah, it doesn't hurt me. I understand the sport. I understand how it works. I understand how they have to continually keep like a flow of new blood into the that top echelon of the division, so that the top 5 guys don't get together and kind of um, protect that spot. But yeah, a lot of us are coming off losses, but that's just what happens when dangerous, aggressive fighters compete against each other. Gauging myself, Tony, like just the style we fight is it's not a conservative style. It's not a defensively minded style. So it's just the nature of the business when exciting guys get in there and compete.
Right, I 100% agree. I mean, I'd put your fight with Dustin up there for fight of the year, along with Zhang Guili and Ioana and
Mm.
Jacek. That was an incredible fight. I want to touch up on that a little bit. It was a great fight, of course, and you had a lot of success in the early rounds. What do you feel like went wrong? He did end up rallying and winning the last 3 rounds on the judges' scorecards, but in your eyes, what do you feel like went wrong?
The second round when I tried to get him out of there. I knew exactly what it was. I went gunslinging in the second round. I was like, I felt like I had him hurt. I felt like he wasn't responding like a coherent fighter. So I made a decision. I made a decision to unload the tank. I made a decision to try and knock him out, try and get him out of there. I knew exactly what had happened when Herb pulled me off and their second round ended. I knew I took a nice deep breath and I said these next 3 rounds are gonna be these next 3 rounds are gonna be tough. But it's just the nature of the sport. You know, high risk versus high reward. Had I had time for one more knee, one more punch, a couple more punches, I'll be sitting in line for a title. And that's just the I'm happy taking those risks, and that's what makes you an exciting fighter, is that you do put it all on the line, and you do roll the dice, and you do take those risks.
Oh, absolutely. And would you say from like takeaways in terms of that fight, just a strategic cardio kind of thing? Is that what you take away from that? Because, like I said, you did have a lot of success in the first couple of rounds.
Oh, a myriad of things. There's 100 things I did wrong. I thought even in those first 2 rounds, that was a pretty terrible performance from myself. Like from what I'm capable of. You know, I feel like Dustin will feel the same. Dustin will feel like that wasn't a good performance. I feel like my last, like I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can do in there, and I just haven't been able to showcase those skills. So I'm just looking out for an opportunity to get back in there and showcase what I'm truly capable of.
Well, you guys did thrill us with an incredible fight, so I'm sure no complaints from the fans there. But tell me, obviously, it seems like you came out a couple of hospital trips with your Paul Felder fight and the Dustin Poirier fight, but I'm assuming you're relatively unscathed in terms of like actual serious injuries or anything like that.
Yeah. So that fight was, oh man, what are we talking? 5 months. 5 months
Yep.
since that fight now. So I've had a good amount of time of rest. I had a few months off, a few months back in training. So, you know, the last month or two, I've been just in the gym, real hungry. So I've got that drive back. I've got that hunger back, and that's what you need to commit to these fights 100% is to be hungry for it. You know, you can't. You need the proper amount of time of rest. But I've definitely had that, and I'm hungry to get back out there.
And so you're saying that you're ready to go. Like, so I feel like the December cards are pretty booked up. So I'd say you're ready to go start in January.
Yep, January, February, ready to go. 100%. Yeah, like I'm always. That's the funny thing that people think about this. Well, like I'm always training. I'm always in the gym. I'm always staying fit. So people are like, oh, well, you're training, so you must be ready to take a fight at a drop of a hat and jump in there. And it's like there's training, and then there's training. There's training, and then there's training for a UFC 5 round main event against one of the best fighters in the world. You know what I mean? That's like someone they walk to the dairy every day. They walk to the shop every day, and they say, "Oh yeah, well I could run a marathon next weekend because I have been walking to the shops." It's not the same thing. There's training, and then there's training for there's like focused training for a fight. So yes, I am fit. I am training, but I give this sport, I give the opponents that I am against the kind of respect that they deserve. And they, you know, you need a good 6 weeks, 8 weeks to truly prepare yourself for these kind of fights.
Definitely. So you'd say your number one option, the fight that you want is Justin Gaethje?
100% Justin Gaethje. Whenever he wants to go, that's the fight I want. I feel like Chandler has lost the mystique around him. So it's that Gaethje fight. I feel like that's the fight that lights a fire under me. You know, you watch him fight, you go out and see him, the way he fights, the way he knocks people out, the way he finishes different opponents, and you can feel the threat, and so it makes it very easy to train for when you're fighting such a dangerous opponent like that. It makes it very easy to get in the gym. It makes it very easy to train hard. When you don't prepare for a fighter like that, who's as exciting as that, who's as threatening and dangerous as that, then it's you got to drag yourself to the gym. You got to push yourself through the hard sessions. But a fighter like Justin Gaethje, that's an exciting fight to me. That's an exciting fight for the fans. I feel like that fight. There's no way that fight doesn't deliver.
I agree with you 100%. What did you think of his performance against Khabib?
In hindsight's an incredible thing. I feel like he was unlucky. I feel like the low kicks he was throwing did start to accumulate, and I feel like damage was getting done. But that's the thing, when you hurt a fighter, when you hurt someone and you do threaten them, he goes all in on that takedown. He went all in. He knew he had to get that takedown. He knew he couldn't let Justin Gaethje back to his feet and land a few more low kicks. So, there are pros and cons, I think, Gaethje takes from it. Hindsight's always a great thing, and there's definitely things he could have done better. But he can hold his head high. I feel like he did. He did himself proud.
Do you believe that Khabib is actually retired? I mean, I think he just tweeted something like a couple hours ago, like "See you soon" to Dana White or something like that.
Yeah, well, I know that Dana White said they're going to have a meeting, but I've seen the press conference that Khabib's done in Russia, and he's reaffirmed his retirement and reaffirmed all his decisions for that. For me, I feel like I feel like it's the same position. He's undefeated. He's got nothing left to prove in the sport. He's got more money than sense. If he doesn't want to fight, there's no point in dragging out even longer. If he did carry on, then more power to him. If he wants to get out there and compete and test himself against these guys and continue to do what he's been doing, then I've got nothing stopping. Whether Khabib's there or I'm not like all these other guys rushing back to the lightweight division or seeing an opportunity in Khabib retiring. That's not my perception of the situation. Whether Khabib retires or whether Khabib doesn't retire doesn't impact my position in the division. It's not like I've been fighting in another division or like reasonably unmotivated and then, Khabib's retired. Oh, wow, I want to get back in there and fight or move back to 155 because I think I can win now. I think I can win regardless of Khabib being there or not being there. And that's just the competitive mentality that I have and the competitive drive that I have and the belief in myself. So it's, whether Khabib's there or not there, like I feel like I can beat the best fighter in the world. And that's just my mentality.
You said you thought the McGregor Poirier rematch should have been for the belt. Why do you feel like, is that kind of like a division moving on kind of thing? Like answering those question marks that people might have with whether Khabib's retiring or not?
I feel like that'll be a big answer to that. But I feel like I just feel like that fight deserves to be for the belt. Poirier turning things around after a title fight. Conor turning things around after his loss for the title. That fight makes the most sense for the belt because they're both coming off, they're both top five coming off wins. Everyone else in the top five is coming off a loss. So you got two guys in the top five coming off wins. It just makes sense if the division was to move on to make that fight for the title.
Who do you think takes the rematch?
It's hard, man. Dustin's so durable, but Conor's so talented as well. To me, stylistically, I feel like Conor's, all the theatrics aside and everything like that. The guy is a great fighter. The guy's a skillful fighter. The guy carries some real power in his hands. That's power versus durability. I feel like that's a 50-50 contest. I feel like it'll be much closer than the first exchange. So Yeah, I'm up on the air in that fight. I'll truly be watching that fight, giving it all my attention.
How about Ferguson and Charles Oliveira?
Again, that's a dangerous fight. I've seen interviews in the past saying like Tony Ferguson doesn't work wrestling. So the chances of that fight hitting the deck are fairly high. I feel like if it stays on the feet, Tony Ferguson's too much, too strong for Oliveira on the feet. But once it's on the hits the mat, that's a wild grappling exchange. And Oliveira is one of the best at catching people in the world once it hits the deck. I would lean towards Tony Ferguson, but I'd say that's a closer matchup than people give it credit.
Do you have any like personal preference of who wins those matchups between McGregor, Poirier, and Oliveira and Ferguson? For you personally, does it matter who wins?
Oh, like you always want to see people that kick your ass do well. At the end of the day, it makes you look better. But like I'm truly indifferent about it. I'm truly at a different stage now. It's like a different kind of confidence I have now, where it's not like I'm not like trying to position myself too strongly. I'm confident in my ability. I'm confident that I match up against any of these guys in the division well, and I truly feel like I can have that belt regardless of who is standing in my way. So yeah, I'm indifferent about who wins these fights and positions himself, because I'm confident in my own ability and my ability to beat them.
I'll leave you with a couple of questions, and I appreciate your time. What were your thoughts on Paul Felder? Because obviously he had kind of announced his retirement, but he came back, steps in on short notice to fight Rafael dos Anjos, who seems like he's kind of in the lightweight picture now. So what were your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, like motivation's a funny thing. Like it can come and go, and it comes on and it wanes. So I feel like they just caught him at the perfect time. They approached him with a fight when he was truly confident and believed, backed his cardio and backed his skills. Um, yeah, strange decision at the end of the day for him to jump in on that short of notice. But he did himself proud, and he gutted out those 5 rounds and made it a incredibly tight and tough contest for such a short notice fight.
And what are your thoughts of Rafael dos Anjos in general? Like him kind of, do you think he should be part of this kind of, I know we're not really creating a lightweight tournament because that's not what the UFC do, but let's say we're breaking up these matchups into kind of a mini tournament on our own. Do you think he fits into this picture?
At some stage, he would have to. He's number 6 is now fighting Tony Ferguson. I think he's like tied for 6 as well. So he's a former champion. He's done some incredible things. He had a pretty strong run at welterweight, coming back down to 55. So he's definitely has an argument. He's a huge name in the sport. So he definitely has an argument to put himself back in the picture.
All right, so for you, it's January, Feb, let's say, Justin Gaethje. If they do end up doing Gaethje and Michael Chandler, do you look at a guy like Rafael as a potential opponent? Because I know you're probably not going to want to fight two down in the rankings, right? If Gaethje gets matched up with Chandler.
Like we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. January, February, if things don't work out with Justin Gaethje, then I'll assess my options from there. But it's hard for me to look past that fight, just because it's such a huge test. It's such a huge opportunity, and that's like real progression for me moving forward and putting myself back in the picture. So it's hard for me as a fighter to look past that fight until the UFC kind of come to me and say that that's not an option for me. Yeah, I'm focused on that. I'm focused on the idea of that fight. So it's difficult for me to look past it.
Well, I think it would be an absolutely great fight. I think few can argue with that. And you're very, like I said, you're very much a player in this discussion, in this mini fantasy lightweight tournament that we're all creating. So very much looking forward to what's next for you, whether January, Feb, first quarter of 2021, let's say. And you, of course, can fight in the US, right? No problems. It doesn't have to be Abu Dhabi.
No, it's a lot easier for me to get to the US. So, fingers crossed. I still have my visa from the Poirier fight, so it's not an issue for me.
Okay, cool. That definitely makes life easier for you, not having to like squeeze you into a particular card. Well, Dan, I appreciate you taking the time. And like I said, very much looking forward to seeing what's next. That Gaethje fight would be absolutely fireworks. I think everybody can agree.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.